It was supposed to be a standard action flick, but Predator turned into one of the most legendary sci-fi thrillers ever made. What happened behind the scenes is stranger, riskier, and way more chaotic than you ever imagined. Fact 1. The Predator wasn't always the sleek, terrifying alien we know today. In fact, the original creature design looked more like a giant red insect with backwards legs. The costume was bulky, awkward, and nearly impossible to film. Special effects company Boss Film created it under extreme time pressure. Their design included bug-like mandibles and a long neck, but it didn't intimidate anyone. The original plan was to hide the alien using cloaking and speed, not physical presence. Actor Jean-Claude Van Damme was hired to wear the suit and perform martial arts. But Van Damme was miserable in the hot jungle conditions. He fainted multiple times and constantly complained about the suit's visibility and weight. The production team tried to adjust the costume, but it only got worse. Footage of the original Predator was unusable. It looked silly, not scary. After weeks of failed shooting, the producers halted filming entirely. They fired Boss Film, scrapped the design, and brought in Stan Winston, who had worked on Aliens and the Terminator. Winston completely redesigned the Predator from scratch. He collaborated with James Cameron, who suggested the now iconic mandibles. The final design was heavier, more muscular, and visually striking. The new Predator was played by Kevin Peter Hall, who stood 7 feet 2 inches tall. The change delayed production but saved the movie. Winston's version became one of the most iconic creatures in science fiction history. Today, fans can still find behind-the-scenes clips of the original red suit version, and once you see it, you'll never look at Predator the same way again, because the monster we love almost ruined the film. Fact 2.
Payback time.
Before he became a Hollywood star, Jean-Claude Van Damme was hired to play the Predator. The producers wanted someone agile, fast, and capable of martial arts-style movement. Van Damme agreed, thinking the role would showcase his athleticism, but he was shocked to discover that he'd be completely hidden inside a monster suit. He complained that no one would recognize him, making the role worthless to his career. Worse, the original suit was so hot and claustrophobic, he kept passing out during takes. He also didn't get along with the crew and refused to follow direction. Van Damme wanted the Predator to fight like a ninja, which clashed with the film's vision. When he learned the Predator would be mostly invisible, he got even more frustrated. Director John McTiernan said Van Damme was uncooperative and hard to work with. Eventually, the producers had enough and fired him from the production. Van Damme later claimed he quit, but multiple crew members confirmed he was let go. Once Stan Winston's new Predator design came in, Van Damme's small frame didn't fit the role anymore. He was replaced by Kevin Peter Hall, a towering stunt actor over 7 feet tall. Hall brought a completely different physicality, slow, looming, and terrifying. He also had professional training in costume performance and movement. Van Damme's version of the creature has become a Hollywood what-if. Only a few blurry clips exist of him in the red suit. If he had stayed, Predator might have been a martial arts oddity, not a horror icon. It was one of the best firing decisions in genre film history. Sometimes the star you lose saves the movie you need, and Van Damme's exit changed Predator forever. Fact 3. Predator looks hot, sweaty, and brutal, and that's because it truly was. The film was shot in the steamy jungles of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, during the rainy season. Temperatures reached over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius on some days, with extreme humidity. The cast battled bugs, snakes, food poisoning, and constant exhaustion. According to Carl Weathers, almost everyone got violently ill from local water and catering. Arnold Schwarzenegger lost over 25 pounds during the shoot due to the stress. Some days had to be shut down because of severe thunderstorms. The dense vegetation made lighting setups extremely difficult. Every step of production was a logistical nightmare. Mud constantly ruined equipment and made stunts dangerous. Jesse Ventura passed out during one take and had to be revived. The Predator suit itself added another layer of difficulty. Kevin Peter Hall could barely see or breathe. The crew had to rotate fresh ice packs inside the costume between takes. Leeches were a daily issue during ground-level shots. The set medic treated multiple infections and allergic reactions. John McTiernan later said, "It was hell, but it made the movie better." The jungle's oppressive atmosphere gave the film its tension and dread. Actors were genuinely uncomfortable, which translated perfectly on screen. The film's authenticity came at a brutal cost, but it also created a uniquely raw and unfiltered survival energy. Predator wasn't just acting, it was endurance. And the jungle was the real villain. Fact 4.
Whatever it is out there, we killed Hopper and died wants us.
With so many action stars in one movie, egos were bound to clash. Behind the scenes, the cast engaged in a secret daily competition. Who had the biggest biceps? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura, and Carl Weathers were all former bodybuilders. Each morning, they would show up early to the gym tent set up near base camp. They lifted weights, compared routines, and trash-talked constantly. Ventura famously claimed his arms were bigger than Arnold's, a statement that launched a prank war. Arnold overheard the claim and secretly told the costume department to measure their arms. He then manipulated the numbers so Ventura's arms appeared smaller. When Ventura lost the bet, Arnold made him buy drinks for the entire cast and crew. The prank became a running joke for the rest of the shoot. Despite the ribbing, the cast maintained deep respect for one another. They pushed each other to stay in shape even during the grueling schedule. The competition led to some of the most ripped physiques ever seen on screen. Producers even altered camera angles to emphasize muscle tone. Some crew members called it the most testosterone-fueled set in Hollywood history. Carl Weathers reportedly worked out in secret so no one saw his routine. Schwarzenegger brought his own trainers and protein bars to Mexico. The behind-the-scenes competition added to the film's macho energy, but it also bonded the cast in an unusual way. They were warriors on screen and in the weight tent, and the muscle mythos became part of Predator's legacy, a flex-off turned into film history. Fact 5. One of Predator's most iconic visuals is the alien's thermal vision, but in 1987, real infrared cameras were almost useless for filming. Director John McTiernan initially tried using actual heat vision cameras. The footage came out grainy, colorless, and nearly unwatchable. They switched to post-production effects to simulate thermal vision. The VFX team created false color overlays frame by frame. They used blue for cold, red for hot, and blended gradients manually. Actors had to be filmed in regular light and then recolored in post. To simulate breathing, a mist machine was used near the camera lens. Every shot from the Predator's point of view was filmed separately and layered in editing. It took weeks just to finish a few seconds of footage. The color grading had to match the Predator's reactions and behavior. Since the suit actor couldn't actually see, he had to guess where to look. Sometimes scenes had to be reshot because the gaze didn't align with the action. Composited shots were prone to flickering and instability. Several drafts of heat vision were scrapped before the final version stuck. It nearly doubled the VFX timeline and stretched the budget thin. But it paid off. Audiences had never seen anything like it. The Predator's gaze felt alien, intelligent, and terrifying. Today, it's one of the most recognizable visual tropes in science fiction. And it started as a technical disaster. They couldn't use real heat, so they invented something cooler. Fact 6. Former pro wrestler and Navy SEAL Jesse Ventura played the minigun-wielding Blaine. Ventura believed he was cast as one of the film's main leads, second only to Schwarzenegger. During pre-production interviews, he told reporters he'd be in most of the film. But as shooting progressed, Ventura realized his screen time was much shorter than expected. His character was killed off early, far earlier than he anticipated. Ventura reportedly felt blindsided by the script changes. He argued with the producers, claiming he had been promised more. Director John McTiernan tried to smooth things over, saying the ensemble nature of the film meant no true second lead. Still, Ventura threw himself into the role. He trained with real military experts to master the M134 minigun. The weapon, nicknamed Old Painless, was heavily modified to make it portable. In reality, the M134 is mounted to vehicles, not carried by hand. Special rigging and blanks were used to make it appear usable. Ventura loved the power of the weapon but hated the heat and weight. His famous line, "I ain't got time to bleed," was an improvised addition. It became one of the most quoted lines in the movie. Despite his disappointment over the short screen time, Ventura made his mark. His performance helped cement the film's macho tone. Years later, he said Predator gave him his first real taste of Hollywood politics. And he never forgot being outgunned by Arnold, on screen and off. Sometimes less is more, and Ventura's short role became iconic. Fact 7. Shane Black played Hawkins, the nerdy radio operator with bad jokes. But Black wasn't hired primarily for his acting. Producer Joel Silver brought him on set to secretly rewrite the script during production. At the time, Black was a hot screenwriter after selling Lethal Weapon. Silver thought having him on set would allow for on-the-fly fixes to dialogue and pacing. Black was given minor acting duties to justify his presence. However, Black refused to do major rewrites, believing the script was already solid. He felt that changing the tone would ruin the film's structure. Despite pressure from the studio, he mostly left the original script alone. Black's scenes were filmed quickly so he could focus on script supervision. His character's jokes were his own contributions, added during downtime. He was also one of the first cast members to be killed off. Black later said he wasn't much of an actor and didn't mind being eliminated early. However, he did give feedback on the Predator's evolving mythology. He suggested making the alien more intelligent rather than a mindless killer. This helped inspire the idea of the Predator as a hunter by choice. Years later, Black returned to the franchise as director of The Predator, 2018. His early involvement helped define the tone of the original. Black wasn't just the guy with glasses and jokes. He was the silent editor behind the chaos, and his fingerprints are all over the finished film. Fact 8. The final Predator costume, designed by Stan Winston, looked amazing, but it was a nightmare to wear. Actor Kevin Peter Hall, who stood over 7 feet tall, was cast to bring the alien to life. The suit was made of foam latex and weighed over 200 pounds when wet. Hall could barely move, and his visibility was limited to small eye holes. Breathing inside the suit was so difficult that oxygen breaks were required every 10 minutes. Temperatures inside often reached over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius. The animatronic mask had dozens of moving parts powered by wires and servos. Hall needed a full crew just to help him walk, turn, and emote. The jungle humidity caused malfunctions in the facial mechanics. During one take, the face melted slightly, damaging the electronics. Hall's performance had to be slow and exaggerated to communicate through the costume. He trained with dancers and mimes to make his movements alien yet controlled. To prepare for the role, Hall studied animal documentaries, especially big cats and reptiles. He also worked with John McTiernan on how to react without dialogue. Despite the pain, Hall never complained. He called the Predator role the hardest job I've ever loved. The final battle between Dutch and the Predator took a full week to shoot. Hall was treated for dehydration twice during production. Still, his performance brought dignity and menace to the creature. He reprised the role briefly in Predator 2 before tragically dying in 1991. Today, fans consider him the definitive Predator, and few know just how much suffering went into that terrifying presence. Fact 9. Before its release, 20th Century Fox had low expectations for Predator. Executives feared the movie was too weird, a blend of jungle war and alien horror. They believed audiences wouldn't accept sci-fi elements in a Schwarzenegger action flick. Test screenings received mixed reactions, especially from studio insiders. One executive reportedly said, "This isn't Terminator, it's Commando meets E.T." Marketing teams struggled with how to advertise the film. The trailers focused heavily on explosions and jungle warfare. Very little of the Predator was shown in early promos. The studio feared the creature design would scare off casual moviegoers. They didn't understand the appeal of a nearly silent, invisible villain. Internally, the film was predicted to break even at best, but when it premiered in June 1987, Predator shocked everyone. It opened at #1 and held the top box office spot for multiple weeks. Critics praised its pacing, mood, and monster design. Word of mouth turned it into a cult phenomenon. The Predator became an instant icon in pop culture. Merchandise, comics, and spin-offs exploded. The film eventually grossed over $98 million worldwide on a modest budget. Executives admitted they completely misread the audience, and a film they didn't believe in became one of their biggest hits. Sometimes it takes a monster to prove them wrong. Fact 10. The jungle showdown between Dutch and the Predator is legendary. What most fans don't realize is that it was inspired by real tribal hunting methods. Screenwriters Jim and John Thomas studied Vietnam-era survival guides and indigenous tactics. Dutch's use of mud to hide his heat signature comes from actual guerrilla warfare techniques. In several Southeast Asian tribes, hunters used wet clay and mud to mask body temperature. They also built simple traps using logs, vines, and spears, just like Dutch. The screenwriters wanted Dutch to defeat the Predator with his mind, not muscle. They removed most of the gunplay and leaned into primal survival. Arnold's dialogue was reduced dramatically in the final 20 minutes. He barely speaks, a decision made to emphasize the silence of the hunt. Director John McTiernan said he wanted the ending to feel mythic, not modern. Dutch becomes a stand-in for early man facing off against a cosmic predator. The battle was filmed over 2 grueling weeks in the mud. The log trap was actually functional. No CGI was used. Arnold had to pull a real vine to drop the counterweight. The mud on his body was real clay, applied in layers that hardened over time. He said it was one of the most uncomfortable experiences of his career, but it sold the illusion perfectly. The jungle became a primitive battlefield, and a soldier became a hunter. Predator ends not with a gun, but with instinct, and that changed everything.